sneaking back to the hotel so you can go back and forth between the games? That's the question.
I'd like to see this. I'm sort of emotionally invested. I want to see Connor McDavid. I want to see the best player in the world in the finals. So I'm interested in this, and they're playing without Hyman. They got some vulnerability, perhaps, Edmonton.
It's a good segue, because the best player in the NBA is in the finals. Welcome back to Get Up. We're coming to you live about the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. And that man, SGA, the MVP by TKO last night. OKC in an absolute laugher against Minnesota. I will not bother during the highlight trying to build drama because there was none. Jay Will, right from the jump, it was all thunder.
Yeah, this game was over in the first 10 minutes of it, and it just started with OKC's pressure on defense. They create so much havoc, and SGA, like we said before, very surgical in finding shooters on the perimeter.
SGA scored or assisted on 24 points in the first quarter. The Timberwolves as a team had 9. Now we're at 4 minutes to go in the second quarter, and Monica, SGA was just doing whatever he wanted.
Honestly, and I know you love all the letters, Greeny. True MVP fashion from SGA. Like, again, a pressure in the paint, continuing to get downhill, assisting, like, he's great.
And you want efficiency, Mr. Wilbon? 34 points for SGA on 25 shots.
I mean, he's found a sweet spot right now when literally nobody in the game is better. Nobody's as good as he's been in these playoffs lately. Once they got past Denver, Greeny, it's like it clicked and they understood, okay, here's what we now can do.
SGA is the Western Conference Finals MVP, and OKC is headed back to the championship round for the first time in 13 years, and their defense is the primary reason why, but SGA certainly deserving of all of the credit. He scored 30 or more in all 3 series-clinching wins in this postseason. If he does it again in the finals, that would set a new record. But look at the company he has already joined. I mean, you're talking about basketball royalty, LeBron, Steph, Kobe, Bird, and Mikan. And after the game, the MVP showing gratitude to those around him.
I want to thank my teammates. Without them, I'm nothing. Clear as day. I don't have 124 points by myself. I love these guys to death. Now, with all that being said, this is a step in the right direction, but we have a lot more work to do, and we know that, and that's what we're focused on. So let's buckle up and get ready.
So look, I mean, far be it from me, this is not about me, but if I were to have written his speech, I would have written literally every word he
hits all the right notes.
said. He
Yeah,
says
all the time.
All the time. Everything right. Job's not done. Give credit to your teammates.
All the time. Winning or losing, as opposed to we looked at the video from Ant-Man.
Right.
Not hitting all the right notes.
Correct. We're going to get to that, but let's start with the win man who was there last night to see it. Wendy, what are the right things to say about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and this OKC team that looks like it might be at the beginning of something special?
I got to tell you, in the first half of this game last night, Naz Reid and Julius Randle were in hell. They couldn't even stay on their feet. What the Thunder did to the Wolves, they brought them to their knees on the offensive end of the court. It was incredibly impressive, incredibly humbling for the Wolves, who are a very good team. And they really took their foot off the gas. If they wanted to, this score could have been anything that they wanted it to be. And that's not a criticism of Minnesota. That's just where this team is. They are playing their best basketball right now. And I'm just going to put it like this, since I'm out here in the Midwest and they know a little bit about steakhouses here. They got the table set. The Wagyu is there. The side dishes are ready. Everything that you need to make something really special happen is ready to go. They just got to cook the steak right. And they understand that. They understand that nothing is given. This is an organization that I was here 13 years ago where they thought they were at the beginning of a long run, and then their plans went awry. So they appreciate what they've got, and they appreciate that there's still a lot more to do. It's very impressive to be around this team.
In those days, they had 3 young stars, right? And they had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. The feel of this is totally different, right? We all remember those teams and covering them because they all felt like they were players, like they were going to be the guy, and that you can't have 3 of those on one team. In this case, at least at this stage of their development, it feels like each of them, the 3 great players with SGA and Jay Will and Chet Holmgren, they all understand sort of where they fit into the scheme of this.
They understand who the alpha is. not just understand it, they're fine with it. You can see that. You can see the way they interact with Shea. You can see the way they look at him. You can hear the answers to questions. I mean, Chet and J. Wills, I'm sorry, J. Dub, J. Wills here, and J. Dub seem very, I hate to use the word content, but right now, and
from his championship run with the Lakers. I just think, to me, and Mark Dagnall said this to me, or to us rather, I had a game, they were in Milwaukee earlier this season, and he appreciated so much about the way those guys bought in before the lights and the attention came. Like, they have a system, they are content, they are present, whichever word you want to use. There's complete buy-in up and down the roster. Shea obviously is a tremendous leader, but he also talked about guys like Lou Dort, who was also a part of the formative years of what we're seeing now.
Yeah. Also, guys, Green, think about like the dominance we've seen from Jokic over the last several years. They had him in a spin cycle. He looked like he was in chaos, discombobulated. Right? Think about Julius Randle and the emergence we see like he was in chaos, discombobulated. Right? Think about Julius Randle and the emergence we've seen from him this year and how he's kind of changed that reputation about himself. They exposed him. I mean, that's what they do.
Just think about how, if they win, if they close this out, think about the confidence they're going to have beyond this.
Oh, yeah.
Once you win that championship, look at what the great teams do once they win.
They already the youngest team to make the finals since the Bill Walton Trailblazers in 1977. So does it feel like they're just at the beginning of something? Of course, they need 4 more wins to sort of put the exclamation point on this one. On the other side, Anthony Edwards talked after getting bounced in another conference final. His team got blown out last night. And the way he handled it surprised a lot of people.
It's exciting. I don't know why people would think it would hurt. I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm 23. I get to do it a whole bunch of times. I'm hurt more so for myself, for Mike. I came up short for Mike. Like I said, we tried last year. We couldn't get it. We tried again this year. We're going to try again next year. But hurting is a terrible word to use. I'm good, yeah.
So the Mike he's talking about is Mike Conley, who's literally sitting right next to him, who's in his late 30s and knows that unlike the 23-year-old Ant-Man, this might have been his last best chance to get there. So, Wendy, you were there covering all of this. A lot of people had a lot of different reactions to how Anthony Edwards handled that moment. What was yours?
Yeah, I was in the room when this went down, and Mike Conley, that was after he was composed. He was just devastated because he's approaching 40 years old, and he's approaching the end. I think he's going to come back next year. And I know when you look at this, it looks a certain way. I just have to tell you, I've been around Ant Edwards a lot over the last few years, Team USA and covering them in the playoffs. He is a lot deeper than he may come off. I think he fully does understand what is going on. I know that can come off a little flippant. I think part of it is his personality. When you understand his whole background and what he went through as a teenager, I think some of it is a bit of a defense mechanism to always be happy. And we're not going to go into that here. I understand why he's open for criticism.
of his. I think he has passion. I think he has style. I think he has authenticity. At times on the court, though, his basketball IQ seems low to me. And I think he plays with instinct and not with intention a lot of times. Now, a lot of that is due to OKC's defense. Also, a lot of it is due to the fact that he's 23 years old and he played in college for 1 year. And I still think the maturation process for him in the basketball IQ department is something that he needs to dedicate himself to. I honestly think that's why pairing maybe him with Kevin Durant may be one of the best things if they can pull it off, because that would increase his basketball a lot of times. Now, a lot of that is due to OKC's defense. Also, a lot of it is due to the fact that he's 23 years old and he played in college for 1 year. And I still think the maturation process for him in the basketball IQ department is something that he needs to dedicate himself to. I honestly think that's why pairing maybe him with Kevin Durant may be one of the best things if they can pull it off, because that would increase his basketball IQ drastically.
Yeah.
And get to certain spots on the court where situational awareness is better.
I feel the need to say before I hand it to Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the effort.
Yeah.
Was it maybe a little clumsily done for our taste? Okay. But again, I don't think that defines him. And I'm like you, Jay. I love watching him play. Not this last 2 weeks or last week, but even that. By the way, he needs help. He's going to need some help organizationally. All right? Remember, I hesitate because I'll just be the old man on the block. Michael Jordan lost 3 straight times to the Detroit Pistons in the playoffs. 5 games, 6 games, 7 games. It cost Doug Collins, one of the great minds ever in basketball, his job. And they go to Tex Winter and the Triangle and Phil Jackson, and they lost too. But there was an attempt organizationally to support and change, not just him, but Scotty and Horace and that whole group. What are they going to do for Ant-Man?
A-Rod and Mark Lure. Well, now you got full majority.
Let me hold it there for a moment. We'll have much more on the hoops as we go, but coming up next, Caleb has